Hey guys, welcome back. As I said in my first video, I do offer a service for providing expert personalised feedback to your personal statement. This can be done by dropping me an email. All of the details have been posted below, so make sure you check it out. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hi guys, welcome back. In this session, we're going to be focusing on the optional extras. And this kind of more specifically is focusing on applying to Oxbridge. So one of the optional extras is the extracurricular activities. But I have actually got a specific video on this. So if you guys want to sort of click on the link to have a check this out, that'd be fantastic. So I'm not really going to go into much detail on extracurricular activities, just that it's something which is quite nice to add to your personal statement. The main focus of this session is fundamentally applying to Oxbridge. So the thing to remember that there's nothing fundamentally different about Oxford and Cambridge to other universities. Just before I sort of dive in to start talking about applying to Oxbridge, I thought I'd just give you a bit of a background on myself. So I applied for land economy at the University of Cambridge, and I've just graduated this summer. So I spent 3 years studying land economy at Cambridge, so I know the city very well. I know the application process. I understand some of the challenges and what you will encounter. And I'm going to be studying sociology as a master's, an MSc, at the University of Oxford in October. So I do kind of know both sides of the coin. I know what it's like to study in Cambridge, and I also know what the application process is like for Oxford, and I understand what the city's like in general. So hopefully I'm in a good position to sort of talk quite confidently about Oxbridge. And yeah, hopefully the main sort of purpose of this session is to share a bit about my experience and about what I have sort of understood the Oxbridge experience to be like. I'll sort of go through some of the points, but then sort of go into sort of my own sort of freestyle in a sense where I'll give you some tips, advice, what to look out for, what to avoid. But yeah, as the first one says, there's nothing fundamentally different about them. They're universities. You're there to study, and it's a university experience. Where they do differ are that they are very traditional universities. So obviously Oxford, the oldest university in the world, and Cambridge, which was founded in 1209, also pretty old, 811 years and still strong. And they're traditional, not just in the sense that they're old sort of medieval sort of cities, but in the sense that they kind of have latched onto these traditions and held them. So for instance, you might have seen people walking around in gowns, taking photos in gowns or whatever. And usually this is sort of a norm for graduation, but this is quite a normal sort of thing at Oxford and Cambridge. Not in the sense that you just walk around the city in your gown, but for special occasions. So for instance, I went to Homerton College in Cambridge, and there would be a weekly formal on Tuesdays. And this would be an opportunity to sort of dress up, wear a suit, and put your gown on. And this would be with all your peers from your college. It's optional, you don't have to do it. And yeah, it's a 3-course meal. It's candlelit. There's wine served. The choir sing at the start. The principal gives a speech at the end, sort of summarize everything and sort of talk about the affairs from the week. And then at Homerton, there's always jazz in the buttery, and there might be port served. So it's very traditional in the sense that they sort of latch onto these old sort of traditions. Another tradition, for instance, matriculation. When you join a Oxford or Cambridge college, you matriculate. So this is when you officially become a member of the college. And this involved, again, wearing your gowns and 3-course meal. And at Homerton, for instance, there is a hall, and everyone drank some wine from the horn, and you sort of say some Latin to officially become part of the college. So you sort of drank it, passed it on, and yeah, it's probably the sort of stem of freshers flu, because everyone's sharing this horn, and in times of coronavirus, that just seems absolutely ridiculous for everyone to be sharing a drink. But yeah, that was a sort of tradition that has been going for years throughout the college. And again, graduations, very traditional. You would go to the Senate House in Cambridge. You would speak Latin to sort of collect your certificate. Not completely Latin. You sort of memorize 5 words to sort of say. Because yeah, God, I can't speak any Latin. But yeah, it's traditional, very old cities. Obviously, I know more about Cambridge, and yeah, a brilliant experience. I'll talk more about my experience in detail, but I'll try and just go through the points first. What is a bit different about Oxbridge is that you will learn topics in a great level of detail. So other unis, you might cover more topics a bit more broadly, but at Oxbridge, you will have a more intense sort of way of studying. So you will be looking into further readings. You'll be looking at sort of all the sort of background behind any ideas or theorems to really try and get to grips with them. You should be expecting a lot of essays, assignments, and deadlines. So, as I said, it's an intense way of studying. So, for instance, in an average week, I would probably be set 2 essays, which may not sound like a lot, but each essay is about 2,000 words. And there's a lot of background reading you have to do before you can even think about writing the essay. So you need to be very well prepared so that when you're writing the essay, it's very strong. And I think, yeah, it's a great opportunity to learn a lot in a short period of time, because you are under these constant pressures of getting deadlines, writing essays, going to your lectures, going to your supervisions. But it's this, well, diamonds are made under extreme pressure, and that's kind of the sort of motto they're going for, where you will be under pressure, but you will perform to an elite level. This education really trains you to be a great thinker, but it's hard, and you should be fully aware of that before committing. So yeah, I just want to talk a little bit more about this pressure that you will be under. It is a challenge. There's no point trying to sort of sugarcoat it in any way. If you're going to Cambridge or Oxford's, it's going to be tough. There are going to be times where you're going to be pushed to a limit, and you're going to see if you can break past that limit and keep working and keep going. And personally, that's what really drives me to keep pushing myself to new limits, to new heights. But that's not what drives everyone. And I think, going back to the intensity of Oxbridge, the terms are much shorter. So each term is split up into 8 weeks, as opposed to other unis, which are 10 or 12 weeks. So the course is a lot more condensed and a lot more sort of high pressure, like sort of work hard, play hard sort of environment, where yes, you'll be working hard on your essays. Yes, you'll be like spending maybe long nights in the library trying to not keep up, trying to smash any sort of essays you get given or any sort of assignment. But you have these sort of nice perks to look forward to. So you're rewarded for your hard work. Not only getting that certificate, which gives you a passport to work anywhere in the world if you get a degree from Oxbridge, but throughout your time there's some like excellent benefits. I already spoke to you about the formals, but another brilliant thing are the Mayballs. So these are massive sort of grand events where they're quite expensive. They're like £200, well, up to £200, maybe £100 to £200, and it's all you can drink, all you can eat. There'll be attractions, live music, there'll be fireworks, there'll be all sorts of entertainment. Everyone dresses up in black tie. There's even some which are white tie, so you would wear a sort of a top hat, different collar, sort of long tail blazer. Some of them, for instance, Trinity College. So each college has their own ball. Trinity College, which I went to, you would even get punted around during the night. There's just so much to do, so much to see. Like for instance, Trinity, the headliner was Mayball, which is quite ironic, Mayball at a Mayball. So yeah, it's great music, great food, great people. But that's just like the balls. That's at the summer after you finish your exams each year. So it really is sort of what you're working towards, a big sort of blowout with all your friends, where you don't have to stress about anything. But that's sort of a big scale. But obviously these are university cities. You would be going out, you would be meeting new people, and you will meet such an array of different people, which is so fascinating about these two cities. Um, you never know, you could be in a coffee shop sat next to the next Steve Jobs or the next Bill Gates or Elon Musk. These are people who are well driven with good ideas. And it's this sort of environment which sort of does push you further to become your best self. And yeah, I will sort of talk a bit more. I'll sort of get all the points up so I can talk about it. I think, yeah, I'll go back to the last slides. When I was talking about having a lot of essays, I think one of the best things about the Cambridge learning experience, and I'm sure Oxford is very much the same, is something called supervisions. So this is where, yes, you're going to be writing an essay or two each week. And other universities, you'll submit an assignment and that'll sort of be it. But at Oxbridge, you submit an essay, but then you would be expected to go in and discuss it with an academic, so like a tutor or a lecturer, with other peers. So when you write your essay, you're not just sitting behind a computer and writing it and that's it. You need to sort of back up your argument. You need to sort of show that you've sort of read the different papers, considered the different ideas, and you're sort of debating with different people, learning what they think, getting a greater insight to really understand the topic. I think there's a massive difference between just writing something and being able to confidently discuss it with others. And I think this really sort of stems your learning. So that's one thing which I think is great about the Oxford experience are the supervisions. Okay, yeah, going back to the points on the slide, on the PowerPoint. You must make sure your statement is applicable to all universities. So yes, you might have ambition of going to Oxford or Cambridge, but you need to make sure your personal statement is applicable to all 5 of your choices. Because if you make it too tailored towards either Oxford or Cambridge, because obviously you can't apply to both, then this might deter other universities. So you don't want to sort of name drop either of these two or anything specific about them. In Cambridge, you have the opportunity to write an SAQ, which is a supplementary additional questionnaire, which goes directly to Cambridge. At Oxford, unfortunately, you don't. But I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. Yeah, so when you are writing your personal statement, you can't talk directly about Oxbridge in it, but you can lay a few simple foundations. So you can sort of have a few interesting ideas, develop your ideas so that when you get to the interview, then you can really debate these ideas and discuss them with the person interviewing you to show that you have a thorough understanding and that you really understand the area. So that's a great way of sort of laying the foundations. But yeah, I'll talk more about the interviews later and the SAQ. When applying to Oxbridge, a core element is having extra academic reading, because they are looking for people who will be strong academics, people who will succeed, people who genuinely have a passion for the subject. And I think that's the biggest shortfall of a lot of strong applicants to Oxbridge. Yes, they might have the grades. Yes, they might have the personality or what they sort of need, but they aren't driven enough in terms of the specific subject. So an admissions tutor or an interviewer is going to want to make sure that you love economics, and they'll sort of test you and they'll see what you've done to sort of expand your knowledge, what you want to do, why you want to study it so badly. And yeah, the best way to sort of do that is in your personal statement to use academic readings, use different papers, use books, use news articles to show that you've gone above and beyond what everyone else is doing, that you're doing something original, something that other people wouldn't be doing. And yeah, this use of academic reading gives Oxford or Cambridge a hint that you have a natural curiosity for your subject. It shows that you're inquisitive. It shows that you're going above and beyond. In general, the interviews are quite subject oriented. Again, I'm going to talk more about the interviews next, but just be aware that you should be comfortable talking about your subject, because you will be quizzed on it. You'll be quizzed about all different things. So obviously be prepared. And the main criteria for admission selections at Oxbridge are academic performance, admission test performance, and interview performance. So I mentioned earlier about Cambridge's SAQ, and yet this is a supplementary application questionnaire. And this is an opportunity to sort of talk directly to Cambridge. So whereas your personal statement is 4,000 characters, this is just 1,200 characters. So it is a bit of space to sort of talk directly about your subject. And this is a fantastic opportunity, especially if you aren't studying what you apply for in your personal statement. And that might sound a bit odd, but for instance, I applied for economics at 4 different unis and land economy at Cambridge. And this SAQ, so my personal statement was very much economics all the way, economics focused. But this SAQ allowed me to talk more specifically about land economy. And it shows that I want to do this specific thing. But it doesn't mean that if you're doing something slightly different at Cambridge, there's the rest of your personal statements that you shouldn't use the SAQ. Think of it as a free hit to sort of give them more information about you. So ultimately, the more information they have about you, the more informed decision they're going to make, and the greater your chances of getting in. So use these words as well as you can to sort of really drive home your argument. And unfortunately, that is not equivalent for Oxford. Okay, so now on to the interviews. Just get that up. Yeah, so I'm going to just go through the slides and then talk a bit about my experiences in the interviews. So in any interview, you can always be expected to ask questions on the content of your personal statement. So make sure that you understand what you've written down on that piece of paper, because you could be quizzed on it. You could be asked different things, different ideas, and you need to be able to be comfortable talking about your personal statement or any readings you have in there. So that's why it's important to be completely honest in your personal statement. You don't want to say, oh, I read this book, get to the interview, and then find out, and then get quizzed on it. Be asked, oh, what did you like about this? What did you think of this argument? What about this? What was your favorite part? If you haven't read that book, that's going to be very tricky to do. And I've mentioned in previous videos that if you don't have the time to read all these books, a good way around this is reading academic papers or even news articles, perhaps from The Economist or The Times, because this shows that you have a genuine interest, you've gone above and beyond, and it doesn't take as long to read an entire book. Interviews can actually be very positive. So it is the opportunity to discuss what you love, what you know most about, and what you really want to enjoy discussing. So that's kind of covered the points on there. I want to talk a bit more about my experience. So I know at Cambridge and Oxford, there's a very high application to interview rate, and this is about 80%. So it's worth sending off an application because you are likely to get an interview and you're likely to have the chance to talk to someone to really convince them that you're worthy of a place. So it is genuinely a positive thing. It is a chance to go above and beyond your personal statement for your interviewee to to understand who you are in much better detail. So the way I always look at it is your personal statement sort of gets your foot in the door. That's what gets you to the interview stage. At Oxbridge, of course. At other universities, your personal statement gets you your place straight away. But at Oxbridge, your personal statement gets you your foot in the door and will get you this interview. And then it's down to you in the room or on the virtual call, which will likely be this year because of coronavirus. It's down to you to sort of convince them that you are worthy of the spot. And I think the interview holds more weight than the personal statement in this sense, because the interview is what they're going to remember you by. They're going to remember that you are a confident person, or you're a shy person, or you're someone who knows their stuff, or you're someone who doesn't. And yeah, it is a really good opportunity to sort of talk directly to someone and bounce your ideas off each other, and see if it would be a mutually good fit. About my experience, so I initially applied to Cambridge when I was 17, so in my final year of studies. I applied for economics at Clare, and the interviews were tough. So the first one was very sort of general. It was a discussion. It was sort of like who I am as a person, a bit about Brexit, because obviously it was quite relevant in 2016 when I was applying for an interview. Um, and yeah, the first one, yeah, I was like, nice, yeah, I've smashed it. This is all good. The second one, however, was very maths based. Um, and it was sort of the interviewer had a few questions, sort of slid them across the table and was like, okay, answer them and talk me through them. And I struggled because I didn't do further maths. These are some sort of quite challenging maths issues. And it doesn't help that I couldn't read his handwriting. But yeah, you never know what to expect when you go into that interview room, because every single interviewer and every single college will have a different process. So that's the important thing to remember, is that it's not a sort of university-wide interview system. Each college has their own system of interviewing the applicants or putting them through different tasks. So yeah, but anyway, back to my first application. I didn't get in for economics at Clare. So I took a gap year. I reapplied for land economy at Homerton. And this interview followed a similar sort of structure. The first interview I had was a sort of general discussion, sort of a bit about me, about my interests, about what I do. And this was a bit more like, felt like a chat. It was very sort of relaxed and it was fine. The second interview, basically I was given a UN environmental document from 1997, 40 minutes before the interview started. And I was told to read through it and we'll discuss it. And that was all I was told. So I was put in the library. I was sort of obviously a bit nervous, a bit shook up. I was just reading through. I was like, I couldn't make sense of this document. I was like, God, this is difficult to read. Don't understand a single thing. And then you get into the interview, and then I had the interview, and I was sort of guided towards the right sort of answers. So they weren't sort of trying to trip me up. They were sort of asking me questions on the paper itself. And if I didn't know it, they were like, okay, have a look at page 3. This sort of gives you a rough idea. I'd see it. I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, of course. You can talk about this, this, this. So they're there to sort of help you. They're there to sort of test you and see what they can get out of you. And just take it as a positive experience. Beyond interviews, you may also have to sit an admissions test. So for land economy, I had to sit the TSA, which is the Thinking Skills Assessment. And yeah, this was quite challenging. It was a mix of maths, VR, and sort of general problem solving questions. It's quite hard to prepare for, but you might have to sit one of these sort of tests, depending on what you apply for. But yeah, that kind of just sort of sums up some of my experiences. I could literally talk all day about my experiences at Oxford and Cambridge, but I won't bore you. Hopefully it's been a good insight and sort of has helped you sort of understand what the application process is like, what it's like when you're there, what the studying is like, what the people are like, what you sort of get up to. These videos sort of have been run as a workshop, so I normally would have had questions and had an open discussion. But obviously, as a direct video, you can't really have this discussion. So yeah, I hope it's been useful to you guys. I hope you've learned a thing or two. I really hope you guys, I wish you the best of luck with the application to Oxford or Cambridge. They really are two fantastic institutions, and you'll be doing excellently if you get into either one of these. Yes, it's challenging. Yes, it's hard, but it's worth every single minute of it, because you'll make great friendships which will last for life. You'll realize your true potential. And when you come out of it, the other end, you are sort of a very sought after individual with a high qualification. So yeah, that sort of summarizes this, that finishes this video off. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Was the awkward bit when I'm trying to end the video.